Man, it's been a very long time since we heard about the Virginia Tech Hokies getting some love from the national media, but there's a lot of hype about VT going into this year, man, and for very good reason. Brent Pry has done an incredible job with this program. They're coming off a 7-win season. They had a really good showing in their bowl win last year, and there's a lot to love about this squad. And I hope that you college football fans out here aren't sleeping on the Hokies in 2024, man, because they have the potential to win the ACC this year, which may sound crazy, but the ACC is not as good as what a lot of people think. Too many people are overhyping FSU, who's coming off a great season, but they have to replace a lot of production. And although Mike Norvell is a really good coach, I do think that this is going to be somewhat of a rebuild for the Seminoles. Miami has the potential to win this conference, but you know how it is with the Miami Hurricanes, man. They get hyped up every offseason, and then once the season comes, it's always a letdown with them. And Clemson, they don't even want to use a transfer portal anymore, so I think that their ceiling is a little bit capped. So for Virginia Tech, you lead the ACC in returning production. You return all 11 starters on offense. You return 8 on defense. And the defense could be even better this season than what it was last year, because not only do you have a lot of talent coming back on that side of the football, but you got better in the trenches. You're going to have really good linebacker play. You got a really good defensive line as well. You got a few guys from the portal who should be able to come in and be very productive for you on the interior. How successful Virginia Tech is going to be this year, and if they're able to live up to the hype and the ceiling potentially of winning 10 games and maybe winning this conference, comes down to the development of quarterback Kyron Drones, who goes into his second season with the programs. He had a pretty solid first year as the starting quarterback. He completed 58.2% of his passes, 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but he was a tank in the ground game. 818 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. And if he continues to evolve as a passer, we definitely could see Virginia Tech's name being mentioned in the conversation to win this conference by the end of this year, man. And every game that Virginia Tech lost last year, Kyron Drones completed under 60% of his passes. The reason why I'm so optimistic about the Hokies in 2024 is because I'm banking on Kyron Drones improving overall as a quarterback. Last year he had the tendency to hold the ball too long, which caused him to get sacked, and then he had some accuracy issues downfield. So if he's able to improve on those things, because he is going into year 2, so year 1, when it's your first time starting, you expect some of these issues, but year 2 he should be a little bit more refined, and if he ends up living up to his potential, he could be the best quarterback arguably in the ACC along with Cam Ward, because the ACC is not that good this year. We don't really got too many great quarterbacks, and there aren't really a lot of great teams in this conference neither. So if you can get a big jump out of Kyron Drones this year, and let's say he becomes a dark horse Heisman contender, that could be good enough to catapult you to 10 wins. Your wide receiving core has a lot of experience, a lot of good production there. Your defense is going to be really elite. You return your 2 top pass rushers from last year. You're going to have a really good secondary, and your schedule is really favorable. Okay, one of your biggest tests early on is going to be against Miami. You could be 4-0 going into that road game. You got to play Vandy week 1, Marshall, Old Dominion, and Rutgers, which Rutgers I think is going to be the first precursor to actually figuring out how good Virginia Tech is going to be this year, because Rutgers is a team that, like Virginia Tech, could surprise a lot of people in their fellow conference in the Big Ten. And then you got another tough game with Clemson, but you host them on the road. And let's say Virginia Tech goes into that Clemson game undefeated. You already know that College game day is probably going to be there. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. And with how inconsistent Kate Klubnik is, I would favor Virginia Tech to win that game if they only have one loss at that point, or if they're undefeated. And there's a very good chance that Virginia Tech could be undefeated going into that Clemson game. Like, as I mentioned earlier, like, the ACC is wide open. It's up for grabs. And I would put money on Virginia Tech being able to win this thing outside of Miami. I like the fact that you have so much experience coming back. You lead the conference in returning production. Brent Pry has made gradual improvement and the few years that he's been with this program. 2022 was a rough year, 3-8, but last year you showed a lot of promising growth. And the reason why I don't think Virginia Tech is overhyped is because, when you return this much production and you got a head coach going into year 3 with their program, normally you do end up seeing a pretty big leap in the win column. So that's why I'm banking on the ceiling for Virginia Tech being 10 wins. And I think the floor is pretty high too. Let's say that they don't end up reaching that ceiling of being a 10-2 team. Okay, they could still be an 8-win team, which I definitely think could be pretty good. And if you get to a bowl game, that's 9 wins for you there. So you still come close to reaching the potential. But if we see Virginia Tech win 10 games, win the ACC, and they make it into the college football playoffs, do you not know how insane that could be? So for the guys out there that think that the hype for Virginia Tech is unwarranted because they didn't improve anything last year, I mean, they won 7 games. That's an improvement for them winning only 3 games and not even being bowl eligible in year 1 under Brent Pry. So progress for Virginia Tech right now is looking linear. Okay, it's not like they had a good year 1 and then they all of a sudden just regressed in year 2. Like, it's been gradual improvement every single year that Brent Pry has been the head coach for this program. And Virginia Tech hasn't been talked about this much since the early 2010s under Frank Beamer. Okay, and for all you VT fans out there, the diehard ones, can you guys please tell me what the hell is a Hokie? Like, what is that thing, man? Can you please explain to me what your mascot is? Is it a turkey, a chicken, or a bird? Because I don't know what the hell is a Virginia Tech Hokie. And please don't tell me I am one. Like, I really want to know what the definition is of a Hokie, bro, because I've always been fascinated with Virginia Tech's mascot, bro. They got one of the most fascinating mascots in college football, in my opinion, bro. Like, I don't know if this thing is a damn bird or a rooster or what this thing is, but please tell me what this thing is, because I would love to know what a Hokie is. But I'm banking on Virginia Tech living up to the hype this year. Like I said, when you return this much production and you have a head coach going into year 3 that has showed gradual improvement, year 1 and year 2, normally you end up seeing a big time year 3. Now, maybe next year they fall back down to earth, but when you return all your starters from last year and then you get even better on top of that on both sides of the ball, it's only right to feel like Virginia Tech can end up being in that conversation to win it all when it comes to the ACC title picture. And I'm not sleeping on these guys, and I think that a lot of people who still are having a hard time buying into the Virginia Tech hype, you're making a huge mistake, because if you end up betting against this team, you're going to end up losing a lot of money. You're better off betting with them than you are betting against them. So I hope you guys are not sleeping on the Virginia Tech Hokies in 2024. Brent Pry is building something special down there in Blacksburg.